What's going on, guys? It's your boy Jason Cristo, the Plant-Based King. Today I'm gonna give you guys the top 3 diets that are going to stop us from burning up on this planet from greenhouse gases and climate change and global warming. All right, let's get into these diets because you can save the planet starting today. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. Join the community, join the family. I'm gonna keep giving you guys awesome information when it comes to plant-based living, giving you guys everything you guys need to improve yourself, improve the planet, and get your body going in the right direction, baby. Come on, let's get it. What is global warming? Global warming is an increase in CO2 emissions or carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. The carbon dioxide goes up into our atmosphere, and then that ends up trapping the heat in the planet, increasing long-term the temperature of the planet. Now the temperature goes above 1.5 degrees, too much more than it already is, then we run into a problem and we all might burn up and die. Hopefully not. That's why I'm going to show you the diets that can help us stop what's happening. In trying to get more cars off the road that burn carbon dioxide, not everybody can wake up tomorrow and buy an electric car. So from that perspective, it doesn't really make too much sense for the average consumer to obviously switch everything up completely and start using electric cars or using cars that don't burn fossil fuels. But that's where the diet comes in handy, because a diet is something that everybody can do today by simply changing a few things. Now, when we look at two things, when we look at transportation and we look at animal agriculture, what we find is animal agriculture is responsible for about 14 to about 17% of greenhouse gas emissions. But when we look at transportation, transportation is responsible for about 13.5% to about 15% of greenhouse gas emissions. Now you might be asking, how the hell does this happen? Now, one of the ways this happens is through deforestation. And I'm not talking about setting up camp wood or firewood for your house, something that's natural. What I'm talking about is deforestation. So again, 56 billion farm animals are killed every year for meat consumption for the meat industry. Now, in order to do that, they have to get rid of trees. They have to cut down trees. In the rainforest, we see this all the time. In the Amazon, trees are cut down to make room for animals to go and then be raised and grazed on the environment. One thing school taught me was that oxygen is released by the tree, but what the tree has to do is take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, soak it up into the tree, and by soaking it up into the tree, it's converted then into oxygen. Oxygen gets released back in the atmosphere as part of the beauty of the cycle of life, baby. So when we cut down these trees through deforestation, that carbon dioxide that's stuck in the trees then gets released back out into the atmosphere, right? So now we see that effect of cutting down trees, releasing the carbon dioxide, less oxygen, all that kind of stuff. That's why planting trees and doing different things like that really help out the environment. Now, livestock gotta be raised, they gotta be fed, right? And so over 1 billion tons of grain is used to feed these wildlife animals. And so what we see is that 1 billion ton of grain could be used to feed that 3.5 billion people, which is amazing, right? But we're not doing that. Instead, we're feeding the animals. And what you have to understand is the natural resources, the burning of fossil fuels and different things like that, are used in order to make this land, in order to make the grains, in order to build the equipment that's required to man this land and use it for deforestation also. Everything leaves a carbon footprint. Even you leave a carbon footprint. And what that means is it means the amount of carbon dioxide residue that's being left into the environment or given off by creating something, right? So when it comes to, for example, creating a steak, that's gonna, or a 6-ounce steak, let's say, that's gonna leave about 330 grams of carbon dioxide it's going to release into the atmosphere in order to make that 6-ounce steak. Just to put that in perspective, that's like driving a car 3 miles to make that 1 6-ounce steak that you're eating. When we go down the list and we look at something like chicken or fish, that might take anywhere from 40 grams of carbon dioxide to 50 grams of carbon dioxide. So we see how it's decreasing. Now, when we get into things like vegetables, that's gonna take about 14 grams. Now we look into things like lentils, that's gonna take 2 grams of carbon dioxide. So we see as we start moving towards that vegetarian lifestyle or towards that plant-based lifestyle by increasing our plant intake, we start seeing how this has a major impact in the environment. Again, if you take 6 billion people eating meat all the time, 5 times a day, we see how that carbon footprint increases a lot more. What kinds of diets are going to help us function the best? In third place, what I want to say is the Mediterranean diet. Now, the Mediterranean diet, that focuses on eliminating more beef, eliminating more chicken, and focusing more on fish, right? So it's more of a pescatarian diet. But the main focus, again, is increasing plants on this diet, foods, increasing things like nuts and seeds, and decreasing beef consumption, decreasing chicken consumption and things like that, poultry consumption, and focusing more on fish here and there, right? So it's more of a moderation type diet. Vegetarianism is in number 2, and for vegetarianism, those are people that may consume eggs still and they consume dairy. But on the other hand, what they're also doing is increasing their plant food intake. So it's not going to require as many natural resources to feed a vegetarian. Number 1 on the list, we're looking at veganism. That's right. And when it comes to veganism, again, what you have to remember is it takes even less resources than the vegetarians because they don't require those resources to make dairy, for example, or eggs, for example, right? So everything that's done to make the food that you eat and the diet that you has a carbon footprint that leads to more carbon dioxide in the environment. Very important to understand how we can use the different diets to improve the health of the planet, and not to mention ourselves too. I'm Jason Crystal, the Plant-Based King. I'll see you guys on the other side with the next topic.